Now I want you to hear what the so-called Black Swan, by the way, she doesn't like that moniker, has to say. Listen.
Douglas Benefield was a violent abuser.
I said, stop. And he turned and he got into this a fighting stance. I thought he was gonna kill me. He started coming towards me and then he lunged at me and I started pulling the trigger.
Okay, again from our friends at Inside Edition. But Joe Scott Morgan, did you hear what she just said? This is critical, Joe Scott. She said he lunged at her. If he lunged at her, the bullet should be front to back.
Yeah, what he lunged at her with his shoulder blades, that doesn't make sense at all. The calculus doesn't work out here. Lunging means that you're moving toward the individual. The indication is, what we're hearing is that he was shot posteriorly. Now, we don't know the precise trajectories here, but it just doesn't mesh. And I got to tell you, Nancy, from a forensic standpoint, this is one of the major benchmarks as to why the police moved forward with this case.
What do you mean? One of the benchmarks as to why police move forward.
The science doesn't. Yeah, the beauty of this is that the science doesn't lie. She's actually saying that he lunged toward her, and all indications is that these gunshot wounds that this man has sustained are posterior on his backside, or at least lateral. That it doesn't marry up with this so-called fighter stance, whatever in the hell that means, that he goes into, according to her. The science doesn't marry up here, and that's one of the big. We used the term red flag a moment ago for an investigator. That's a big red flag when when the police have spoken with the ME, which I guarantee they did that day, and try to marry this up with a statement that she's giving. The two things just don't mesh.
Okay, I want to go back to Sophia Vitello joining us, investigative reporter, WWSB. Are we correct that at least one of the shots was back to front?
According to dozens of hours, honestly, of testimony from this past week, everything that we have heard in court was that he was facing the other way. And the defense has tried to disprove that.
Right. Are you saying he was shot in the back? Very simply.
According to medical examiner's testimony, yes, he was shot in the back.
Okay, then what she is saying cannot be true. And, let me understand, Brian Foley joining me, renowned criminal defense attorney and author. Brian, it is possible that he is shot in the back and was attacking her. He could have attacked her and then turned to get a weapon. He could have attacked her and tried to push off a dog. There are many reasons he could have turned his back and still be the aggressor. However, her story is impossible based on the bullet path trajectory.
Yes, and when we listen to a defendant give a statement about a very traumatic event, these things really happen a lot faster than people think. You don't have time to react in between shots. Some people say, well, why did you have to shoot him 2 more times if he'd already been shot? He's not the other 2 bullets aren't self-defense, even if the first one was. But these all happen way too fast for that to be the case. And one thing I wanted to add is the prosecution doesn't have to prove that she lied about how it happened. If the forensic evidence shows that her statement is inaccurate, that doesn't mean that she's not doing it in self-defense. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there's no other possibility that it was in self-defense. And Nancy, you hit the nail on the head. They said she had to run back.
That's not true. Nobody has to prove no possibility beyond any doubt whatsoever, such as to a mathematical certainty like 2 and 2 plus is 4. 2 and 2 equals 4. Now, that's not the legal standard. The legal standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. She has raised the affirmative defense of self-defense, which means affirmative defense, I did it, but I'm excused because self-defense, because accident, because insanity, different reasons. But the state only has to pierce that beyond a reasonable doubt, not to a mathematical certainty.